The story begins in 12th century France, during a time when religious turmoil and expectations had drawn everyone toward the Christian Crusades. We meet Balian, a blacksmith who is immersed in deep sorrow because his pregnant wife has committed suicide. His wife was 9 months pregnant, and her death has shattered Balian from within. He is sitting by his wife's grave, shedding tears, when his stepbrother comes to console him. That same day, a soldier named Godfrey arrives in Balian's village with some of his men. He tells Balian that he needs his horses shod and wishes to stay the night. In return, he offers to pay a generous price. At night, Godfrey reveals to Balian that he has come from Jerusalem, a place where every person can seek forgiveness for their sins. He further discloses that he is Balian's real father. Balian listens quietly and tells Godfrey that he is content with his life and has no interest in going to Jerusalem. Godfrey gives him one last chance, saying, "If you want to atone for your sins and become a warrior, come with me. In Jerusalem, I have over 100 soldiers, and you too will get the chance to become a great warrior. The sin of your wife's suicide can only be washed away there." Balian rejects Godfrey's offer. But as he leaves, Godfrey gives him a hint, saying, "If you ever change your mind, keep going straight until you cross the region of Italian-speaking people. After that, you will reach Messina. I will be waiting for you there." Balian had decided not to go to Jerusalem with his father Godfrey, which his stepbrother did not like. His brother knew that if Balian left, all the property would be his. Driven by this greed, he starts fighting with Balian and tries to force him to leave. During this, he reveals a horrifying truth. "Your wife's death was because of me. I was the one who drove her to suicide." Hearing this, Balian's blood boils. In a fit of rage, he pushes his brother into a furnace, where he burns to death. After this incident, Balian realizes that he must now atone for his sins. He reaches Godfrey, and the two set off together toward Jerusalem. Sometime later, they stop to rest in a forest. At that moment, French soldiers arrive, intending to arrest Balian for his brother's murder. But Godfrey opposes them and refuses to let them take Balian. This leads to a skirmish with swords and arrows flying from both sides. Godfrey fights bravely with his warriors and kills all the enemies, but an arrow pierces his stomach. He is gravely wounded, yet Balian safely carries him forward. After several days of travel, they reach the port of Messina. There they stop at an inn to eat, but a haughty soldier named Lusignan starts provoking Balian. Balian remains calm, knowing that Lusignan is the future king of Jerusalem and that clashing with him would be futile. At night, Godfrey's condition worsens. Before dying, he hands his sword to Balian and makes him promise, "No matter what happens, never abandon King Baldwin. Protecting him is your duty." With Godfrey's death, Balian resolves to embrace his father's legacy and sets sail for Jerusalem as a new warrior. Balian's ship gets caught in a fierce sea storm during the journey. When Balian opens his eyes, he finds himself on a beach, surrounded by the wreckage of the ship. His gaze falls on a horse, tied with ropes amidst the debris. Balian frees the horse, but just then 2 travelers arrive. They claim the horse, saying, "This horse is ours because it was found on our land." Balian refuses to give it up. One of the men attacks him, but Balian, prepared, swiftly kills the attacker. The second traveler, frightened, backs off, but Balian shows mercy and says, "I spare your life, but in return, take me to Jerusalem." The traveler guides Balian to Jerusalem. Upon arriving, Balian thanks him and gifts him the horse, saying, "Take it so you can reach your place." The traveler is delighted by Balian's kindness. In Jerusalem, Balian meets Godfrey's companions. At that moment, Sibylla, King Baldwin's sister, arrives and invites Balian to the palace. In the palace, Balian meets Tiberias, an old and trusted friend of Godfrey. Tiberias tells Balian about Saladin, the powerful Arab king. Saladin has over 200,000 soldiers, and his army has surrounded Jerusalem. He could win a war whenever he wishes. But thanks to King Baldwin's wisdom and policy of peace, tranquility has been maintained so far. During a dinner at the palace, Lusignan, who is Sibylla's husband, is also present. He repeatedly tries to humiliate Balian, but Balian calmly ignores his provocations. After the dinner, Balian meets King Baldwin, who always wears an iron mask on his face. Baldwin has leprosy, which is why he keeps his face and body covered so no one can see his condition. King Baldwin, who possesses deep wisdom and experience, tells Balian, "When I was only 16, I defeated Saladin and captured Jerusalem." Then, with sadness, he adds, "I don't think I'll even live to see my 30th year because of this disease." Recognizing Balian's potential, Baldwin entrusts him with a fortress, where he is tasked with protecting farmers and common people. Balian sets about improving the fortress. He digs several wells so that poor farmers can easily cultivate their land. Some days later, Sibylla visits Balian at the fortress. She has fallen in love with him and expresses her feelings. Meanwhile, Lusignan, along with his commander Reynold, attacks an Arab caravan. The caravan included elderly people, children, and commoners, but Reynold's hatred was so extreme that he couldn't stand seeing people of another religion. Reynold's clear intent was to provoke Saladin into starting a war against Jerusalem. When this incident is brought before King Baldwin, Reynold lies, claiming the caravan consisted of soldiers who were heading to Bethlehem to insult our God. Tiberias, angered by Reynold's actions, recommends that Baldwin punish him. Tiberias wants to avoid war at all costs, knowing that defending Jerusalem would be difficult. But then they receive a message. Saladin has set out toward Jerusalem with his army of 200,000. Despite being gravely ill, King Baldwin decides to lead the army himself. Balian receives word that Saladin's massive army will pass by his fortress. He prepares for battle with his 15 soldiers, knowing the enemy vastly outnumbers them. Despite fighting bravely, their small unit is quickly defeated, and Saladin's soldiers take them captive. When Balian opens his eyes, he finds himself face to face with the man he had previously spared and given his horse. This man turns out to be Imad, Saladin's commander, who, remembering Balian's kindness, lets them all go. Shortly after, King Baldwin arrives with his army, and on the other side, Saladin approaches with his soldiers. The scene between the two massive armies is extremely terrifying and tense. It feels as though any small misstep could escalate into a catastrophic war. Baldwin chooses the path of negotiation and tells Saladin, "Reynold will be punished for his crimes, or else we will all die in this war." Saladin, displaying his wisdom, agrees with Baldwin and returns with his army. Upon returning to Jerusalem, Baldwin imprisons Reynold and decides that he will be sentenced to death for his crimes. Saladin tells his commander Imad that their army is exhausted and, due to a lack of water, is not in a condition to fight. He admits that if a war had occurred, they could have lost as they did before. Meanwhile, King Baldwin's health continues to deteriorate. He knows he won't live much longer. Therefore, he proposes that Balian become the new king, saying, "Lusignan will be killed and you will be married to Sibylla." But Balian rejects this offer. He says he must atone for his wife's sins and wishes to return to France, leaving Jerusalem. A few days later, Baldwin dies from his leprosy. After Baldwin, Sibylla's son becomes king, but unfortunately, he too contracts leprosy. Seeing that her son will suffer in pain like his uncle, Sibylla poisons him, killing him. Now Lusignan becomes the new king. As soon as he assumes power, he releases Reynold from prison. Driven by hatred and a desire for revenge, Reynold attacks Arab villages and murders Saladin's sister. Devastated by his sister's death, Saladin sends an envoy to retrieve her body, but Lusignan, in his violent mindset, kills the envoy as well. Lusignan wants war with Saladin at all costs. As Lusignan prepares to march out of Jerusalem with his army, Balian advises him to stay and protect the city, as fighting outside would weaken the army. But Lusignan ignores his advice. Tiberias agrees with Balian and refuses to send his army with Lusignan. On the way, Lusignan's army becomes weak due to a lack of water, and at that moment, Saladin attacks their exhausted forces. In this battle, Saladin decisively defeats Lusignan. He brutally kills Reynold, avenging his sister's death, but spares Lusignan's life. When Balian hears of Lusignan's defeat, he begins preparing Jerusalem's fortress for war. He is certain that Saladin will now attack Jerusalem. At night, Saladin starts the assault by raining fireballs, but Balian refrains from retaliating. The next day, Saladin's soldiers try to climb the fortress walls using ladders, but Balian and his men bravely hold them off. For 3 days, Balian successfully keeps Saladin's massive army at bay outside the fortress. But in the end, Saladin discovers a weak section of the wall. His army breaches the wall and enters Jerusalem. Balian accepts his defeat and surrenders to Saladin. However, Saladin, showing his generosity, says, "If you and your companions leave Jerusalem peacefully, we will not attack you." He also releases Lusignan. Before leaving Jerusalem, Balian kills Lusignan. As Balian prepares to depart Jerusalem, Saladin's commander Imad meets him. He reminds Balian that he has learned the importance of showing mercy and wishes him well always. If you like this story, please subscribe to our channel and be sure to like the video. This gives us motivation so that we can bring you more such amazing stories. You can also share our video with your friends and family.